those of the producers and or the appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it looks like from now through the election, we're just going to have, shows that we just have no time to, do anything but talk about. We got a list already that we won't get in. It will be continued on Monday, but...
And Monday's list will be twice as long, too.
And Monday's will be twice as long. And I guess... we should lead the show with shots fired again.
Once again.
And where what? A place we've heard about it before, Corky Row.
Corky Row.
Corky Row.
Yep.
And somebody did text me a few comments, and this comment was devastating. It was from a Louis Cardozo. The mayor can't control his city, and the cops are hiding in the parking lots instead of patrolling the areas. Apparently, this guy is a little upset over the crime.
Just a little.
And this is another one. According to what has been reported, there's been an active investigation into another shooting in the Corky Row last night. Reports of shots fired happened just before 8:30 on 2nd Street. Major Crimes Division is leading the investigation. Multiple shell casings were found. Oh, well, but you know what Paul's going to do? Paul's going to read Mr. Pumpkin.
Yep. And maybe there'll be a party at the park.
Yeah, and a parade.
Yeah.
He's going to read Mr. Pumpkin. Mm-hmm. That's what he was doing yesterday, because like his handlers, he doesn't know anything. We know that.
Yep.
He's been a vice his whole life.
Right.
A subordinate. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't know. He doesn't know how to politic either, but he knows now. He said, optics.
Yep.
Let's take a picture of me reading Mr. Pumpkin to the kids.
Yep.
Because he's still living in a school environment. He's the king. He doesn't really want to be mayor, and I think he said that on one show when they said, what did you like better, being a vice principal? Oh, vice principal, easy. That's an easy, of course, you didn't have to make any decisions, but you're still not making them. The reality is that he is still, all he thinks about is parades. How about the parents of the kids? How about the crime? How about safe streets and good schools? Never. But, and reading Mr. Pumpkin, you know what I thought when I saw that and heard that? You know what came to my mind? I had a flashback to the videos on 9/11.
Oh, yes.
Of George Bush reading to the kids, which was an optic, politics, optic, but there was one difference between George Bush on 9/11 and Paul Coogan. When they informed him what happened, he had to realize he had to go back and act like the President of the United States. Right. And he had to deal with an imminent danger.
That's right.
Paul Coogan is going to read to the kids and then go back to the city hall and walk around with his hands in his pockets. And he won't, maybe he'll go to Corky Row now because we mentioned it, but I doubt it because he went there the last time. What did he do?
And actually last time he bumped.
Yeah, he bumped
City Councilor Chris Peckham. That's right.
The only reason he went was Chris Peckham, who
had
was
called
on the
a
public
special
safety committee, had called a special meeting. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have done anything on that.
That's right.
So, patronage Paul is good, sitting in his office doing nothing. Crime is rampant, bullets are flying, but remember what PP said. That's his new initial, patronage Paul, PP. He does a lot of PP into him, all over the taxpayers too. But that's not the same kind of PP.
Hey, we have a play coming up here. You're in town.
I know, you're in town. That may be about Fall River. Who knows? I don't know. But listen, it's crazy. I mean, we're laughing to keep from crying because the city is in a total state of chaos everywhere. Everywhere. We can segue from shots fired right into the school department.
Yep.
Where, again, cover-ups, no comments, lack of transparency. with serious, serious allegations being
And the
being
parent
levied.
has gone public with the names. The parent went public with all the names. So the names you may hear on this show are not necessarily from us. They are from the source, which
Yeah.
is the parent. And the parent is very upset because they have done absolutely nothing. They have not suspended the teacher. They have not put them on administrative leave. They've done nothing. If I were the superintendent of school, just for the allegation, I would have said, we're going to suspend you on administrative leave until so we can complete the investigation. But we didn't do that. Why? Why didn't we do it? Why? Because this is a political tick. This is whose brother used to be a school committee member.
Well, that narrows the field, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but you can go on Facebook and look at the name.
That's right.
But the reality is, listen, I know what they're going to say because allegedly, because we have to use allegedly on this show all the time because it's alleged. It's alleged. We all find out it's true. Like allegedly, they mishandle the document, the drugs, and after our investigation is no longer alleged, nobody can find out anything. Gone. Incompetence runs rampant. Did anybody get fired, by the way? They just segue quickly back to that.
No.
When they found out, it took a year to report it to the superior officers. Why didn't everybody who didn't report it get fired or suspended for a very long time?
One person got suspended. One person.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna, but that's the thing. But look, we understand these are allegations, and both parties have to go to court and prove their position. But Coogan's been in office for 3.5 years. You mean to tell me, and he's the chairman of the school. Look what happened with they weren't allegations, they proved them because they settled for Malone.
Yep.
And they buried it, they covered it up. You think by this point in time, the school committee, instead of worrying about getting out of there and going home, would have adopted a policy that when anything, especially when it's sexual harassment of any
a child,
kind,
especially of a
yeah,
child.
of a child, but anybody, because but a child that's particularly heinous. You think they would have adopted a policy to immediately put the individual who's been accused on administrative leave? Just get him out. You can pay him. I don't care. You can pay him. I don't believe in that, but hey, okay, pay him. Pay him, but get him out. Remove him. Because if these allegations are true, how many other children could he have done this to that have remained silent? Or will he do in the future? You can't take that chance. Let the thing play out. But again, what does the school committee do? They circle the wagons to protect the tick.
Yep.
It's like, okay, we can't make any comment. We won't even talk to the man's lawyer because we have to hire another lawyer because Assad can't do this. So this is, again, a delay tactic, covering it up again, whether it's the superintendent of schools, I would probably say about 75% of the people who were in the school department got in because they got a relative or know somebody.
Right.
There's no test for those jobs.
What's interesting is that when the parent asked the school department, allegedly asked the school department.
Allegedly, that's right.
Allegedly. The parent was told that we don't have a policy to handle that.
They have a policy for handling nothing.
I know.
And all of this stuff.
And remember, we heard that during Malone.
I would like to see someone ask that question. Maybe Channel 10 News, maybe Channel 20. Why does the school department have no policy for anything if it involves one of their employees? Nothing. Superintendent of schools sexually harasses people, violates the Age Discrimination Act.
The American with Disabilities Act.
The American with Disabilities Act created a hostile work environment, and they let him stay in, for another 8 months, 8 months, and perpetrate that environment on the rest of the. But we have no policy. Yes, we do. We adopted a sexual harassment policy for the entire city decades ago, as I said a million times on this show. I used to have to go out to every station and ensure that my shift reviewed that policy, and everybody had to sign a paper saying that they had gotten the course, they had a video, and you know, and then you read the statute, and so, you know, but everybody had to do it. So you're going to tell me that the school department and the mayor at that time, Paul Coogan, couldn't have said, we're suspending him. We're going to suspend him because he's violated that, suspend him because he violated the sexual harassment policy. You just got a text. He told the judge that he was innocent twice.
That was under Murdo. The Alexander Murdo.
We're not going to go to Murdo.
No, that's South Carolina.
South Carolina. We'll deal with that on a day. We got now after next November. This coming November.
That's right. We're in election season.
I don't think we're going to ever have time to deal with Murdo. But this is outrageous. This is outrageous. I know that there's somebody again. Very shortly announcing their candidacy for school committee, Colin Dias.
Yes.
And I hope he gets in, because we need a change.
And he's grown up a lot. He really has.
We do not need people who do not want to do their job. I want to go home. Shut up and just vote no. Don't ask any questions. Now, we have a patent here that's a very dangerous patent to suppress elected officials' rights to do their job.
That's right.
Now we have in the school department the mayor and the chairman ex officio of the school committee telling a school committeeman who he was asking to appropriate millions of dollars for a contract, shut up. You don't need statistics. You don't need statistics. You don't need numbers. You don't need proof. Just shut up. If you don't like it, don't ask a question, because the rest of the people might ask the same question and say, wow, he's got a point. No, shut up, vote no. We're not going to let you vote. You don't have the right to speak. And I'm even going to pass a rule that says you need everybody, all my political tick friends, as a to ask a question. I hate to tell you this, Paul, but it's his sworn constitutional duty, as it is yours and the rest of your bobbleheads. Because when you stuck your hand up and swore an oath, when you were sworn into office, it said to uphold the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and we all know what it says in part of the first Section 5. That you are our substitutes and agents and answerable to us at all times. And an individual that we elect that is looking at appropriating our money, cannot be prohibited from asking questions. So we got it on a school side, and then you go to the city side. They want to crucify Kadeem and Michelle Dion for asking questions about how we're going to fund it, because you know what they exposed? It's not being funded. But you know, the city is in complete and utter chaos. This city is just disintegrating. So what is he going to run on? Mr. Pumpkin? You know, and we know who it is, and then the radio shows attack, you know, and we all know, because that individual who didn't, about the retirement not being, they try to spin things. Well, why didn't they ask questions? Well, number one, as I said, remember, the CFO is on a retirement board now. She's taking the place of the auditor, who we don't have an auditor.
Right.
She went over those numbers for 3 months with us. She knew fully well that it was funded, it was a one-time thing rather than a continuous thing.
Right.
Completely different thing. But of course, WSAR Suneda didn't want it, because you know why? She's part of the coven. The coven. For all you people who don't know what a coven is, it's a group of witches. I think some people might think it's another word that rhymes with witches, but it's a, and they actually had, they posted it, and it's on Facebook, and we got it. And Roxy Maverick posted it. Roxy Maverick.
Otherwise known as Rainey Brown, chairman of the Charter
Linda
Commission.
Pereira and the rest of the coven. All of Laura Washington.
Oh, Laura Washington.
And all of them. It's amazing. You think they got a little like Portuguese mafia now, but it's no longer a Portuguese mafia like in '95. Now it's the coven.
That's right.
Members of the coven who are on the council, who do the bidding of the coven rather than the people. So they isn't it ironic? Isn't it people like that, they love to give themselves nicknames like vanity plates and stuff. Roxy Maverick, I guess she likes Top Gun, you know? Let's get some, look, I got a nickname. He's gonna say, oh, shut up, Tippy, you got a nickname. But I got that nickname from my aunt at birth. So
that's right.
And the only people that ever called me Chip were people who I grew up with. That was my indication of whether I knew them when I was a child or I knew them now, because people at the council want to pretend to be friendly with me. They've called me Chip. So now I can't tell if people knew me from before or after. I got that thing at birth, and I'll tell you.
Sure you can. Sure you can. If there's a knife in your back, you knew them after.
That's right. I'll tell you why. It's got nothing to do with Chip off the old block. I'll tell you quickly. I got it because my aunt was in those days, people followed comic strips.
Right.
And there was a comic strip called Gasoline Alley. Mm-hmm. And on the day I was born, the two primary characters who were Skeezix and somebody else, I don't know, I didn't read Gasoline Alley that much, but the two main characters had a baby on the exact day I was born, and they named it Chipper.
There you go.
She walked into the hospital to visit my mother and see me as a one-day-old infant, and they said they were going to name me Robert, and she said he's always going to be Chipper to me because Skeezik's son is named Chipper. So I got that nickname by default, and people call it that because I don't put it on a vanity plate. It's just people do that. You'll hear people call me once in a while Bob, and that's fine. But Roxy Maverick, so let's get a couple of nicknames here, CJ. She likes Top Gun. I'm going to be his nemesis, Iceman.
There you go.
And you can be the co-pilot, Ice Cube. Because he had another guy, right? We got Iceman and Ice Cube now. When we talk about the coven, we're no longer CJ and Chip. We're Iceman and Ice Cube.
There you are.
You are stealing that name from a couple of rappers, but it's okay. We'll call you Ice Cube the Third. So, but, we joke, but it's serious. It's serious. These people are colluding to get Michelle Dion out of the city council.
They've been doing that for years.
And they've been doing that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's blatant. Now they're so blatant, they put pictures of themselves and give themselves names and nicknames. So this is not the way a city is supposed to run. We're supposed to have equal justice under the law, and we don't. We don't. This is crazy. And the other quick thing, the trial of Pessoa has been postponed again.
Yep.
Another black eye for the city.
Yep.
But then again, how many posts do we have about him allowing a police department to be in a total state? The crime is rampant. The schools are a mess. No supervision anywhere. The lunatics are running the asylum. And we expect people to do this? I mean, this is crazy. It's unacceptable. We have no leadership in this city, and we have to elect someone who will make this city behave itself. We have no policy. How many times is the school department going to say they don't have a policy, and the school committee sit there with their fingers up their butts and go, okay, we don't have a policy. We don't have a policy. We don't have a policy for an adult touching a child inappropriately? Are you nuts? Are you people really, really serious about this? And they let it go. But you know something, people? They don't care about you. So get to the polls and make them care. Make them go, put them back out on, change them like the diaper, because they are full of crap. Because they don't really care. Because, again, now we segue into something we can get into. Paul and his infinite ignorance of housing. Paul liked the floor plan because it had workforce apartments.
Yes.
Well, he still doesn't know what workforce is.
Right.
Here we go again. I don't even think he's that dumb. I think this is intentional.
Probably
Intentional
is.
ignorance.
Probably
Complete
is.
ignorance. Even though ignorance is at least I'm not sure. I can ask a few lawyers. But the last time I heard, ignorance was not a defense in a court of law.
Right.
Well, he is legally bound to run this city. And for him to not know the difference and say that he's for anything is insane, because the only thing he knows is all these other categories, public housing, workforce housing, affordable housing, are all different.
Not for him.
All different. But the only thing he knows is they're not market rate.
That's right.
And that's all that counts to Paul Coogan.
Right.
They're not market rate. Because Paul, workforce housing is based not on Fall River and affordability in Fall River, but on an area. CJ, you want to give him a little definition or a little kind of a little micro class, even though we've given it a million times.
I was going to say, haven't we done this before?
Yeah,
Haven't we done this before?
Explain to our mayor, please, why workforce housing doesn't work in Fall River.
Well, number one, you got to have a bunch of people who work.
That's true.
People don't have jobs in Fall River.
Yeah.
Okay, although the numbers keep saying that the people are getting employed, but remember, the numbers are saying people are getting employed is that the fact that they dropped off the unemployment rolls.
Yep.
Because we don't count those people anymore because they don't matter.
Yeah.
So,
Well, poor people don't matter.
right.
Working people don't matter.
But, it's interesting you should bring this up because Joe Cavallo, you know Joe Cavallo, of
course,
course,
Joe.
Vice President of the Flint Neighborhood Association, very, very busy, very big citizen activist.
Engaged in
LNG and all of that. He posted a comment that was made by Ken Fiola when asked by the planning board, will any of these units be available for Section 8 or affordable housing units? And Ken Fiola said no, because with Section 8 they don't pay enough, and the tenants won't be able to afford to be able to pay the difference.
Yeah, again.
And Joe turned around and said, he's not going to get Compassionate Citizen of the Year award from me.
Yeah, well, they have no compassion
No.
for poor people. We know that, CJ, because listen, in case you don't know this, Paul, and you don't, as I said, workforce housing is not based on the community it's in. It's based on the area that it's in.
That's right.
And if you look around this is why it doesn't work. I'm going to give you kind of they got all those books like Computers for Dummies and something for Dummies. This is explaining workforce
Housing to dummies.
for dummy mayors.
Yeah.
Okay, for dummy mayors. Workforce housing takes an area. You can look it up. I looked it up, but it's good. Monday we'll have more about our exact. But I looked at it, and the only thing I could get in a quick use is, I didn't have any holdups to show all those comments because I took my dog to the vet today to get her heartworm test, and by the time I got out of the vets, I couldn't get home. Change up, eat my breakfast, and get here to the show. So, but Monday this will be continued. But I looked up quickly workforce median incomes, because workforce is on an area and the median income in the area.
Correct.
And they had it broken down. But they had it statewide. Now you have to go to our own, and it shows why it doesn't work. First of all, it said, in order to get workforce housing, it's a lottery, number one, which means it's a crapshoot.
Which is the same as affordable housing.
Exactly. It's a crapshoot.
Right.
And you need a lot of it because we've got a lot of people that are not going to win a lottery.
That's right.
Most people don't win a lottery. But it said you got to pay, your income has to fall within 60 to 120% of the median. Now, the median per capita income for the state is nearly $50,000.
Right.
Which is nearly double Fall River's.
Fall Rivers.
Okay, and the household income is about $90,000, which is almost double Fall River's household income. So
I thought it was triple Fall Rivers household income.
well, but that's the median, though, because remember, they got a lot of the poor communities. This is I think when we get in a geographical area, if you turn around and look at what the average household and per capita and household income is in Somerset, we've done that before. Quite large, like 80 compared to 48. We don't fare well. We're the poorest city in this area. Fall River and New Bedford. Fall River's better, worse, I think. But the reality is, this is why workforce housing is number one. You're going to be stuck in here with a whole bunch of people who can afford their rents a lot better, and then it's a lottery anyway. And you may not be able to afford the rent. As Ken Fiola, the oracle at Delphi, once said, even if they get that, they can't afford it. Most people in Fall River will not be able to pay the percentage they're required under workforce housing. Workforce housing is not the same, Paul. It's based on a geographical area. Look it up. You don't have, I think you know how to use one of these. You know what Google is? Google. Workforce housing in Massachusetts. There's a whole ton of stuff there. But you don't want to know. You just want to cover it up because we know what the story is. This is all about, hey, let my rich friends get rich, everybody, and we can give the barota to everybody else. You know, kind of like, I'm going to get this in quick and you can close it. Alan Sylvia was on the radio.
Yes,
too,
he was.
Screwing the poor people again.
Yes,
As
he
our
was.
legislature, we can't afford it. Our tax, we didn't get as much tax from you.
We didn't
people.
meet benchmarks.
We didn't meet our benchmark. That's their fancy word.
Yeah.
Fancy word.
Fancy word.
They didn't
Fancy
get
word.
enough benchmark.
They didn't get enough money
They
from
love
us.
fancy words.
They didn't get enough money from us.
It's our benchmark. Sesquipedalian words, yes, in a feeble attempt to appear pedantic or altisonant, which is archaic. You'll have to go to another dictionary. So if we want to show off words, we can show them off too. But it just means they didn't raise as much money as they anticipated. Real simple. We didn't get as much money from you. We didn't strangle your wallet enough. Even though the governor got on TV and said everybody's running out of Massachusetts because it's too damn expensive.
Right.
Our House of Representatives, who, by the way, even though we didn't raise enough money, and we can't give out a tax break to the people.
We can give them a pay raise.
We gave them they gave themselves a big fat pay raise.
Yes, they
didn't
did.
I got an idea, Alan, you and your cronies, the band of merry thieves up there. Why don't you give back your pay raise? I was being facetious. I know that's not happening. Take it away,
That's
CJ.
never going to happen. You know that. Well, what's very interesting is that I was doing a little historical research on Fall River. Did you know that Fall River had aldermen at one time?
Yeah, I did read that in an old, because I used to look at old fire logs and stuff.
We had 9 aldermen, one from each ward.
Yep.
And we had a group of general councilors, 1 from each ward. Yet, the city council and the previous charter commission were against having ward councilors.
Yep.
But that's historically what we've had.
Yeah.
And now it's in front of Roxy Maverick and her crew of interesting,
Way to
disinterested
get her,
people.
Ice Cube 3. Go ahead.
Her disinterested group of people, except for Danny Robillard,
Yeah.
who really aren't doing much. You know, and we need to have representation of the people. Not one person appointed to that committee, except for Danny Robillard, came from the general public. You got Mimi Larrabee from the school committee.
Another cover-up
Okay.
artist. Yep.
You've got Laura Washington from the city council,
Part of the coven.
part of the coven. You've got Roxy Maverick, part of the coven. So these are people that have come together to put this together. Okay, and it's not a great representation of the people of Fall River, and we need better representation. What does that mean? That means you have got to get out there and vote for new candidates and get them into office, and that's coming up in September and November, and it's not that far away. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
We'll have.